At the bottom of the Earth lies a land more alien than Mars. Its ice is older than civilization, stacked deeper than mountains are tall, hiding rivers that have never seen the sky and lakes sealed away for 15 million years. Beneath this frozen tomb, satellites detect mountains taller than the Alps, valleys vast as nations, and signals that rise through the planet against every law of physics. Machines sent to explore vanish without a trace. Radar returns carve the shape of pyramids in the snow, doorways in cliffs, and voids so immense they should not exist. Some whisper of a ship entombed in ice, a cathedral not of human design. Others insist it is the Earth itself, shifting its silence into warnings we have not yet learned to hear. One truth remains: Antarctica is not empty, it is waiting. Prepare for a journey into its hidden abyss, where fact and legend collide. We begin. The first thing you notice is the silence. Not the silence of a quiet room, not the pause between breaths, but a silence so absolute it seems carved into the bones of the world. Here at the edge of Antarctica's surface, the air itself feels emptied of sound. Wind howls and snow grains hiss across the ice. Yet underneath it all there is a deeper hush, as though the continent is holding its breath. Stretching in every direction is a desert of white, not sand, but crystals stacked on crystals, flakes fused into sheets, sheets layered into walls of ice. Older than any human civilization, the white veil blinds the horizon. The sun circles low, never rising or setting, smearing the sky with pale fire that cannot warm. You squint, and all is glare. You close your eyes, and still the whiteness lingers, etched into your vision like the ghost of a flame. It is easy to believe nothing could survive here. Temperatures plunge below -60 degrees Celsius, winds whip harder than any hurricane, and storms can bury equipment beneath several stories of drifting snow in a single night. No trees, no grasses, no familiar sound of rivers or birdsong, just emptiness. And yet this emptiness is an illusion, for beneath the veil lies one of the richest tapestries of mystery the Earth has ever woven. Scientists call Antarctica a continent of superlatives. It is the highest, driest, windiest and coldest land on the planet. 90% of Earth's ice and 70% of its freshwater are locked here, entombed in sheets up to 4 kilometers thick. If all of it melted, the oceans would rise by more than 60 meters, enough to redraw every coastline on Earth, drowning cities, swallowing deltas, remaking maps. The sheer scale of what lies beneath your boots is difficult to grasp. This is not simply frozen water. It is a planetary engine, a guardian and a threat. And it is not empty. Beneath the white veil, time folds in strange ways. The ice is layered like pages in a book, each snowfall pressed into the next, year after year, for hundreds of thousands of years. By drilling deep into these layers, scientists have pulled cores that stretch back almost 1,000,000 years, capturing whispers of ancient atmospheres, frozen bubbles of air that reveal how carbon dioxide, methane and temperature have danced through ages of fire and ice. To hold such a core is to hold the breath of vanished worlds. But there is another kind of mystery here, one that slips between fact and legend. Satellite images of the surface sometimes reveal odd shapes, a triangle that resembles a pyramid, a gash in the snow that looks like an entrance to something vast. Online, whispers grow into shouts, doors to hidden bases, alien artifacts entombed in frost. Skeptics laugh, believers insist. Geologists explain these shapes as nunataks, mountains poking through the ice, or shadows warped by low sunlight. And yet, when you stand in this endless desert, surrounded by forms that shift with every drift of snow and every angle of light, you understand how easily the mind carves myths into the white. There is an odd truth here, though. The veil itself deceives. What appears flat can conceal caverns. What appears solid can be riddled with tunnels, crevasses and voids where entire vehicles can vanish. Pilots tell stories of flying over plains that suddenly fracture beneath them, of snow bridges collapsing with no warning. In 2018, a team lowered a GoPro into a narrow ice pit. The sound warped into something unearthly, a Doppler scream that some compared to the roar of a spacecraft. It was only physics, the way sound waves bend and echo in vertical shafts. Yet the recording spread online like wildfire, another whisper feeding the legend of something hidden below. Even scientists cannot resist the pull of speculation. If forests once flourished here, and they did, for fossils show Antarctica once basked in warm rain and supported great trees, then what else could be locked away in the miles of ice? Could microbial life still slumber in black lakes beneath the sheet, waiting for a spark to awaken? Could meteorites from distant worlds be preserved in perfect condition, waiting to be lifted from the snow like gifts from the cosmos? And if so many extraordinary things are real, why not something stranger still? Here lies the open debate that keeps Antarctica at the center of human curiosity. Is it simply a continent of extremes, where the greatest mysteries are geological and biological? Or is there more evidence of life beyond Earth, of secrets older than humanity itself, sealed away until the ice releases them? Each expedition brings back fragments, data, samples, photographs. Yet the whole remains elusive, a riddle as vast as the continent itself. Standing on the ice, you feel both fragile and immense. The continent dwarfs you, yet it also seems to welcome you into its silence, as though offering a stage where imagination can roam unchallenged. The white veil is both barrier and invitation. To pierce it is to risk. Machines lost, lives endangered, stories swallowed, but to leave it untouched is to abandon the greatest unanswered questions of our time. The air tastes metallic, thin, clean to the point of sharpness. The horizon is indistinguishable from the sky. It feels less like a place on Earth and more like another planet entirely, a frozen Mars or Europa spread across our own globe. And indeed, many scientists come here for precisely that reason, to study analogues of alien worlds, to test robots that might one day swim beneath Europa's crust or drill into Mars's polar caps. Antarctica is a rehearsal for encounters with the unknown. The white veil stretches onward, infinite, relentless. Beneath it, volcanoes still breathe, lakes still shift, and maybe, just maybe, something older than humanity waits in the dark. For now, you stand at the threshold, staring into a desert of light. The journey has only just begun, and the ice has yet to reveal its true face. Listen closely. Beneath the roar of Antarctic wind, beneath the brittle chatter of snowflakes skittering across frozen ground, a stranger sound sometimes emerges. A pop, a crack, a whistle spiraling down into impossible registers. In this world of silence, the smallest noise swells into mystery. A block of ice dropped into a borehole doesn't thud, doesn't splash, it sings. The pitch bends upward, as though something in the depths has learned to speak. The first time researchers captured the sound, they replayed it in disbelief. A block of frozen water transforming into a chorus of alien echoes. It was no accident. It was physics, pure and extraordinary. The Doppler effect, the same principle that makes an ambulance siren rise and fall as it passes, stretches and warps each vibration as the ice tumbles down. Walls of frozen crystal reflect the noise back in strange harmonics. The borehole becomes a cathedral pipe, and the ice a sudden organ note. To some listeners, it resembles a spacecraft winding its engines. To others, it is a ghostly choir from beneath the continent. To all, it is unforgettable. Antarctica loves to play these tricks. What should be simple becomes strange. Every echo is amplified, bent, refracted, shout into the emptiness, and your voice may not return in time with your breath. The continent consumes sound, folding it into itself, then releases fragments as if in riddles. Geologists working in the field describe the uncanny sensation of hearing their own footsteps twice, once as the crunch beneath their boots, and once as a delayed whisper echoing up from the ice. But strangeness here is never just illusion. Each sound hints at something larger. Beneath the ice, water rivers shift and groan, cavities collapse, pressure cracks race through glaciers at hundreds of kilometers per hour. The continent speaks in creaks, in thunderous booms, in haunting sirens that twist through crevasses. Satellite seismometers have captured these voices, the continent humming at frequencies inaudible to us, like a vast instrument strummed by gravity and wind. Some scientists call it a cryosphere symphony. Others more poetically describe Antarctica as a living body, its bones cracking, its lungs sighing, its heart slowly beating in frozen rhythms. And then there are the sounds that resist easy explanation. In 2018, researchers planted a network of sensitive microphones beneath the Ross Ice shelf. Almost immediately, they recorded vibrations they did not expect. The ice shelf was singing constantly, a subsonic drone generated by winds rippling across its frozen dunes. It was a song inaudible to human ears, but captured by instruments. The discovery was more than poetic. These vibrations act as a kind of stethoscope, letting scientists monitor the health of the shelf in real time. If the song shifts, it signals fractures forming, ice thinning, collapse approaching. The music of the continent becomes a warning bell for the world. Yet not all signals can be explained so neatly. High-energy detectors buried in Antarctic ice, instruments meant to capture particles from the cosmos, sometimes record anomalies that defy current models. Bursts of energy traveling in ways they should not, as if matter itself is whispering in reverse. Some suggest errors, others hint at new physics. A handful of voices even murmur of something beyond Earth, signals that use the ice as a medium, coded messages humming through frozen kilometers. Official papers remain cautious, as science must, but in the hushed corners of conversation, speculation thrives. Could the continent be not just a mirror of climate, but a conduit for something else? A place where the cosmos speaks in buried vibrations. The oddest tidbit may be this: even when silent, the ice itself is listening. Every snowflake, once it lands, becomes part of a crystal lattice that records its own story. Air bubbles seal within, each one a miniature bell jar of ancient sky. Drill down deep enough, and you find not only chemical fingerprints of volcanoes and oceans, but the faint record of solar winds, of cosmic radiation, of energies far older than any human memory. Antarctica holds a library of sound and silence, echoes pressed into matter. But what remains debated is how much we can truly hear. Is Antarctica's music merely the byproduct of wind, pressure, and shifting glaciers? Or is there something more, a hidden pattern, a geometry of resonance we have not yet deciphered? The echoes might be chants, or they might be the continent's language, a conversation we've only just learned to eavesdrop upon. Imagine standing at the lip of a borehole, holding a block of ice in your hand. You let it slip. It plummets into the dark. At first, silence. Then the Doppler scream, twisting higher and higher until it vanishes into frequencies no ear can follow. It feels like a message. It feels like the depths themselves have answered. And in that moment, you understand why myths take root here. A ship hidden in ice, a cathedral beneath snow, an alien engine waking after eons. None of it feels impossible when the land itself sings with otherworldly voices. The cold air burns your lungs, the horizon shimmers with heatless light. Somewhere beneath your feet, cracks groan, rivers flow, shelves tremble. The continent is alive with sound, though most of it lies beyond human perception. You are listening to the edge of the world, and the echoes will follow you deeper, guiding you toward mysteries yet untold. Beneath your boots, beneath miles of snow and ice, lies a library unlike any other on Earth. Its shelves are not made of wood or stone, but of frozen layers stacked in silence, year after year, age after age. Each storm leaves a page, each snowfall presses ink into crystal. Together they form a record stretching back nearly 1,000,000 years, a memory of climates long vanished, of skies we never breathed, of seas that rose and fell before humanity even dreamed of maps. To stand upon Antarctica is to stand atop this library, invisible, immense, patient. Imagine the scale, cores pulled from the ice, reach more than 3 kilometers deep, slender cylinders of frozen time drawn upward inch by inch. Within them are bubbles of air, each no larger than a grain of sand, each one a tiny capsule of atmosphere. When scientists melt these cores in the laboratory, the past breathes out again. Air last exhaled 800,000 years ago flows into modern lungs. You are inhaling the Pleistocene. From these cores we know the rhythm of the planet's heartbeat. Carbon dioxide rising and falling in tandem with glacial ages, methane spiking with warmth, oxygen isotopes shifting as oceans froze and thawed. The graph of these changes is not abstract. It is a songline etched into ice, a lullaby of fire and frost. Through it we glimpse not only the story of Earth, but the fragility of our present moment. Never in that long history has carbon dioxide climbed so high so quickly as it has in our own brief century. The library whispers warning. Yet there are stranger entries in this archive. Ash layers from distant eruptions, carried on winds across hemispheres, now lie trapped between pristine sheets of snow, cosmic dust, grains no wider than a human hair, drifted down from the void to be entombed forever. Even traces of bacteria frozen in stillness rest within these ancient pages, their DNA a script written in a language older than cities. To slice into a core is to cut across worlds, fire, sky, space, and life, all bound in crystalline script. The oddest detail of all is how sound plays into this story. When scientists drill for ice cores, the drill's vibration travels down the borehole, echoing into the dark. In those echoes, sometimes are subtle shifts that reveal hidden pockets, voids where air or water pools waiting. The continent does not give up its stories easily. Each layer must be coaxed, interpreted, believed, and yet, as fragile as these cores look, they are more durable than parchment or stone. Left in the cold, they will outlast us. But there is a debate that divides the keepers of this library. How far back can it truly go? The deepest ice we have retrieved reaches close to 1 million years. Models suggest older layers may exist, buried and preserved perhaps 2 million years old or more, yet heat from the Earth's crust gnaws upward, and pressure warps the layers, folding them into chaotic whirls. Somewhere below, the record shatters. Have we already lost chapters of our planet's story, or do they still lie hidden, waiting for a drill bold enough, precise enough to find them intact? The search for this oldest ice is not just curiosity. It is a quest for context. If we can see farther into the past, we can understand how Earth responds to extremes, volcanic winters, sudden thaws, shifts in orbit and tilt. These lessons are not ancient relics. They are blueprints for our future. The ice warns us, but also guides us, showing how life endured, how oceans adjusted, how ecosystems bent and sometimes broke. As you imagine these cores, picture them glowing softly in sterile freezers, each one sealed in tubes, labeled by depth, year, and expedition. They look unassuming, like nothing more than cloudy glass, but within is a symphony of ages. Scientists huddle around them with reverence, as if holding relics from a vanished temple. In a sense, they are relics of climates we never saw, prayers of forests that no longer exist, memories of seas that once lapped against Antarctic shores. The metaphor writes itself. Antarctica is Earth's memory palace, the last library still intact, unburned by war or fire, untouched by centuries of neglect. Yet this library is fragile. Warming creeps along the margins. Shelves begin to crack. Whole chapters could melt before we ever learn to read them. There is a quiet urgency in every drill, every expedition, for once the library is gone, the memory is gone with it, and the Earth will be left to write new chapters in a language we may not survive to interpret. Close your eyes and listen. Faint cracks ripple beneath, a distant boom rolls like thunder trapped underground. The library shifts. It is alive. It is speaking. To read, it is to hear echoes not only of Earth's past, but of possibilities yet to come. The ice is both witness and prophet, both archivist and oracle, and here at the edge of the world, we are only beginning to learn how to listen. In the endless white shapes emerge where none should be. A shadow stretching sharp as an arrowhead across a frozen slope. A ridge whose angles are too precise, too symmetrical to be the work of chance. Photographs captured from satellites spread across the world, magnified, zoomed, sharpened. A pyramid rises from Antarctica's horizon. An opening yawns in a wall of ice, dark as a wound. Whispers grow. A doorway, a ruin, a ship. The continent, already cloaked in silence, becomes a canvas for imagination. It is not new, for as long as explorers have returned from Antarctica, they have brought stories of illusions. A mountain glimpsed at dawn becomes a fortress. A cloud shadow falls upon a glacier and creates the suggestion of an archway. The mind is quick to impose meaning where the eye only sees pattern. We are creatures who crave order, and so every straight line becomes a road, every triangle a temple, every hollow a door on a continent that defies human presence. The very landscape conspires to tease us with familiarity. One viral photograph showed what looked like an enormous doorway, a neat rectangular entrance cut into the side of a mountain. Online, the theories bloomed: an alien base, a Nazi bunker sealed after secret missions in the 1940s. A natural cave turned into a passage leading downward for miles. But when geologists examined the image, the truth was far less dramatic. The so-called doorway was simply a crevasse, its edges sharpened by the slant of sunlight. Scale told the rest of the story. The door was over 100 meters wide, not something that could be entered by explorers at all, but a gash in the ice formed by stress and heat. Still, the story would not die, because part of us does not want it to. We want Antarctica to conceal more than rock and water. We want it to hold secrets beyond imagination. That longing fuels myths of pyramids, structures too geometric to be natural. But the mountains of Antarctica, nunataks, peaks that break through the ice, often rise in triangular slopes. Erosion carves edges that from above mimic architecture. Shadows lengthen, and suddenly a range of ordinary mountains looks like the skyline of an ancient city buried beneath snow. And yet, the oddest twist is that sometimes myth and truth brush shoulders. Antarctica does hide doors, not to alien cathedrals, but to vast caverns carved by volcanoes and geothermal heat. Beneath Mount Erebus, scientists have crawled into ice caves where light filters through thin walls, glowing aquamarine, the air warmed by vents. In some, microbial mats cling to the ceilings, nourished by gases alone, living without sun. These are doors of another kind, entrances into ecosystems sealed off from the surface. To walk into them is to step across a threshold into another world, one both earthly and alien. And so the debate lingers. Should we dismiss the myths as mere shadows, or do they serve a purpose, pointing our attention toward real mysteries hidden below? The pyramids are illusions. Yes, the doorways, optical tricks. But the continent does contain vast unknowns, lakes sealed for millions of years, tunnels where water flows black, volcanoes sleeping beneath kilometers of ice. Are these not entrances too? Imagine standing before one of these shapes yourself. The cold is bitter, the light blinding, a shadow opens against a cliff of ice. Your mind insists it is a door, you know it is not. Yet your heart still leaps, as though expecting someone or something to emerge. This is the power of Antarctica's illusions. They blur the line between geology and dream, between fact and story. The continent's white veil does not only hide its truths, it also reflects us back to ourselves, our longing for discovery, our hunger for mystery, our refusal to accept emptiness. In the snow we see not just cracks and shadows, but the shape of our own imagination reaching for the beyond. And as we step away, the door collapses back into light and shadow, yet the echo of possibility remains, urging us deeper. The surface of Antarctica looks lifeless, endless, unchanging, a desert of white that seems eternal. Yet beneath that stillness, fire waits. More than 90 volcanoes rise under the ice, hidden peaks buried beneath kilometers of frozen weight. Some are silent, long dead. Others are restless, their warmth bleeding upward, their breath shaping the continent in ways we are only beginning to understand. Imagine it, a land of fire beneath a land of ice. Lava chambers glow in darkness, magma flows and stalls, and vents send heat pulsing upward through solid sheets. You cannot see them from the surface, but satellites sense their signatures. Seismic instruments detect the low rumbles, the deep grinding of rock under pressure. Antarctica, the coldest place on Earth, is also one of its most volcanic. The largest and most famous of these fiery giants is Mount Erebus, the southernmost active volcano on the planet. Its summit holds a permanent lava lake, churning and bubbling, even as snowstorms rage around it. To gaze into that crater is to glimpse another world, molten red surrounded by pure white, a juxtaposition so extreme it feels like a vision painted from myth. Scientists have descended into Erebus's ice caves, hollow passages warmed by volcanic breath, their walls glowing blue as light filters through the ice above. Within, strange microbial mats cling to ceilings and walls, feeding on gases like carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. These organisms are reminders that life does not always need sunlight. In the dark, in the heat, in the thin air, it thrives. Erebus is only one volcano. In 2017, researchers announced the discovery of 91 more volcanoes beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, identified using ice-penetrating radar. Many are tall, some rival the Alps, yet they remain entombed. Their heat is not wasted. It melts ice from below, creating subglacial lakes, lubricating the base of glaciers, and at times accelerating their march toward the sea. Here is the paradox. The very fires of the Earth may be hastening the collapse of Antarctica's ice, feeding the rising oceans that threaten our coasts. The oddest rumor woven into this scientific reality is the claim that some of these volcanoes once erupted through the ice within human history. Ancient maps, some say, depict Antarctica free of glaciers, coastlines drawn too accurately to be mere guesses. Skeptics argue these maps were misinterpretations, but believers point to them as evidence that cataclysmic eruptions or rapid warming events exposed the land far sooner than we admit. Could volcanoes have created sudden windows into a younger Antarctica, burning doors into the sheet? The mainstream says no, but the whispers persist. Scientists debate another mystery with urgency. Just how much volcanic heat is flowing upward? Measurements are patchy, incomplete. In some regions, geothermal flux is modest, no more than elsewhere on Earth. In others, it is astonishingly high, enough to melt kilometers of ice from beneath. This unevenness makes predictions perilous. How fast will the West Antarctic ice sheet collapse? How much will hidden volcanoes accelerate the retreat? The answers remain elusive, concealed by kilometers of frozen weight and the difficulty of probing such a hostile land. Still, the story is undeniable. Antarctica is not only ice, it is fire and ice in eternal tension. To drill here is to feel heat rise from the depths, even as frost numbs the fingers. To measure here is to witness extremes colliding. And to dream here is to wonder if life can cling to walls inside a volcanic cave, warmed only by gases. Might not similar life thrive on other frozen worlds, beneath Europa's crust, or in the caverns of Enceladus? Antarctica's volcanoes are more than geological curiosities. They are models of alien habitability. Picture yourself standing on the surface, the wind screaming, the air sharp with cold. All seems dead, yet below your feet, magma churns, rivers of fire roll unseen. The ground is not silent, it is alive with tremors. The ice groans where heat gnaws at it, sculpting voids, creating lakes, cracking shelves. The continent is a paradox, a theatre where opposites play their endless drama. White above, red below, silence above, thunder beneath. Perhaps one day, one of these volcanoes will wake with violence, tearing through the ice, throwing ash into the sky. The eruption would not remain hidden. It would shake the climate, alter winds, scatter particles that dim the sun. The world would feel it. And perhaps then we would finally understand how little we know of the continent we call empty. For now, the fire sleeps, but its heat is constant, reshaping the foundations of ice, fueling mysteries we have yet to decipher. Antarctica is not a frozen tomb. It is a living continent, trembling between fire and silence. And as we walk across its surface, we are treading above volcanoes that could in time decide the fate of seas and cities alike. Beneath the thickest ice, where no sunlight has touched for millions of years, lies a hidden kingdom of water. These are the Black Lakes of Antarctica, sealed beneath kilometers of frozen ceiling, cut off from the open air since before human ancestors first shaped stone. To think of them is to imagine alien worlds, oceans trapped beneath icy shells, like those of Europa or Enceladus, where no star shines, yet life might still whisper in darkness. The most famous is Lake Vostok, a body of water larger than Lake Ontario, concealed beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice. Its existence was guessed for decades, hinted at by subtle changes in ice flow and seismic echoes. Then, in the late 20th century, radar confirmed it, a vast hidden sea, warmed by geothermal heat, untouched for perhaps 15 million years. To drill toward it was to risk contaminating a world older than human memory, yet the urge was irresistible. In 2012, Russian researchers reached its surface. What they found was both wondrous and unsettling. Water unlike any other on Earth, filled with dissolved gases, pressurized beyond imagination, and teeming, possibly, with life forms adapted to extremes. Lake Vostok is not alone. Satellites and ice-penetrating radar have revealed more than 400 such lakes across the continent, many connected by hidden rivers, their waters flowing silently in total darkness. Some fill and drain like lungs pulsing beneath the ice sheet. In 2006, one lake beneath the Whillans ice stream suddenly drained nearly 200 billion gallons into the ocean over just 3 days. The ice surface sagged, a ripple spreading across kilometers, as if the continent itself exhaled. To witness such events from orbit is to feel the uncanny truth. Antarctica is alive with secret motion. And here lies the oddest detail. Some of these lakes contain more than water. Suspended within are fragments of life. Bacteria, perhaps fungi, even DNA sequences that hint at unknown organisms. In 2013, water retrieved from Lake Whillans revealed about 4,000 microbial species, all surviving in a realm without sunlight, feeding on minerals and chemical reactions instead of photosynthesis. If life can thrive here, cut off for hundreds of thousands of years, could it not thrive elsewhere, beneath the icy crusts of moons or in hidden oceans of distant worlds? Antarctica becomes not just Earth's final frontier, but a rehearsal for alien contact. Yet there is fierce debate. How much of this life is truly ancient, and how much was introduced by drilling, by the tools and fluids we send down in our quest for knowledge? Contamination is a spectre haunting every experiment. Some argue the evidence for thriving ecosystems is strong, others that we may be reading illusions into faint traces. The lakes are patient, they keep their secrets, and we are clumsy intruders. Even stranger still are the reports of unexpected signals recorded from deep beneath the ice, neutrino detectors built to capture the most elusive particles in the universe. Sometimes register anomalies that seem to rise upward from these depths. Cosmic rays should come from space above, not from the Earth below, and yet the instruments whisper otherwise. Most scientists argue for alternative explanations: noise in the data, misunderstood physics, the trick of particles scattering strangely. But for some, the thought lingers, what if something unknown stirs within the Black Lakes? Something that leaves not fossils but signals, patterns in energy we have not yet learned to decode. Imagine yourself standing upon the surface above one of these hidden seas. The snow beneath your boots appears solid, yet beneath lies a void of water stretching for miles, a world of absolute night. The ice hums faintly with pressure. Somewhere below, rivers surge, caverns open, currents shift. You are standing above an ocean that has not felt the kiss of sky in millions of years. The idea is dizzying. It feels less like Earth and more like the setting of a cosmic dream. The Black Lakes are thresholds. They are reminders that the surface is never the whole story. They teach us that life does not require sunlight, that time can be measured in millions of years of silence, that hidden worlds can flourish beneath apparent emptiness. They are doors not to alien spacecraft, but to alien ecosystems, and perhaps to a new understanding of life itself. As night falls across the continent, though here, night is a relative thing, more a shift in the color of the eternal twilight, the knowledge of these hidden waters lingers in your mind. The ice is no longer just ice. It is a mask, a curtain, a thin crust above oceans that breathe unseen. Antarctica is not a desert. It is an archipelago of invisible seas, each one a story still sealed, and somewhere beneath your feet, in the oldest and darkest of them, something stirs that we have yet to comprehend. Beneath the ice, where no light has ever reached, there is still motion, there is still chemistry, and there is, astonishingly, life. It is not the kind of life that dances in coral reefs or flourishes in forests, but a different, quieter kind, patient, microscopic, unseen. For millions of years, while the continent above froze into silence, these hidden organisms have endured in water locked away from the sun. To imagine them is to enter a twilight kingdom where survival rewrites its rules. The discovery of microbes beneath Antarctica shook science. For decades, the assumption was simple: without sunlight, life could not persist. Photosynthesis is the great engine of our planet, driving food webs from leaf to predator. Remove the light, and you snuff out the flame. Yet when samples from subglacial lakes were drawn upward, filtered and studied, the microscopes revealed motion, tiny cells, thriving without sun, living instead on the minerals dissolved in water, on the gases rising from the Earth's crust, on the faint trickle of energy from chemical reactions. Lake Whillans was the first clear proof, nearly 800 meters below the West Antarctic ice sheet. This lake lay sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. In 2013, After meticulous drilling designed to avoid contamination, researchers retrieved water. Inside, they found a community of nearly 4,000 microbial species. Some consumed iron, others consumed sulfur, still others lived off the faint traces of methane. A web of life thriving in total darkness, fed not by sunlight but by stone. It was a revelation. Life does not need the sky, it only needs energy. The oddest inhabitants, however, are not just the microbes themselves, but what they suggest. If life can survive here, cut off from the surface, thriving in chemical dark, then why not on Europa, Jupiter's moon, with its vast hidden ocean beneath an icy shell? Why not on Enceladus, Saturn's tiny moon, whose geysers spray water into space? Antarctica becomes a proxy, a mirror for alien seas. Every bacterium beneath the ice whispers, we are not alone, at least not in possibility. And yet, the debate continues. Are these organisms ancient lineages, survivors from a time before Antarctica froze, clinging to existence in the Black Lakes? Or are they intruders carried downward in cracks and streams more recently than we think? Do they represent ecosystems evolving in total isolation, or merely echoes of the surface world trickling beneath? The answers matter, for they tell us whether life is truly universal, able to arise anywhere conditions allow, or whether it is fragile, dependent on unlikely accidents. There are stranger stories too, tidbits that drift between science and legend. In 2016, researchers drilling into Lake Mercer, another hidden water body, found not only microbes but also traces of the remains of larger organisms, fragments of diatoms, ancient shells, even possible vestiges of animals. Nothing alive, but evidence that in the past, when Antarctica was warmer, these lakes may have supported entire ecosystems. Some even speculate that tiny invertebrates might still cling to existence, moving unseen in the blackness. Officially, no such creatures have been confirmed, but the thought lingers: if microbes endure, what else might they feed? Beyond the lakes, the ice caves carved by volcanic heat offer yet another glimpse of survival. Inside, microbial mats bloom in thin layers on ceilings and walls, nourished by volcanic gases. In these chambers, where aquamarine light filters through translucent ceilings, life paints delicate strokes across frozen stone. The caves are so strange, so self-contained, that they feel like test chambers for alien environments. A planet within a planet, a shadow Earth thriving in miniature. And this raises a deeper question. One scientists argue even now, is Earth's biosphere limited to the surface and the sea we know, or does it extend far deeper? Could the deep crust, the hidden aquifers, the black lakes beneath the poles, harbour a vast unseen biome, a deep life that outnumbers and outlasts us all? Some estimates suggest that microbial life beneath Earth's surface may equal or exceed all life above it. If that is true, then perhaps the planet belongs more to the microbes than to us. Perhaps we are only guests. Picture yourself drifting in that dark water, sealed from sunlight by kilometers of ice. The pressure is crushing, the silence absolute, and yet around you invisible beings divide, consume, exhale. They are ancient, indifferent, resilient. Their scale is microscopic, yet their significance is cosmic. They prove that life is stubborn, that it can take root in places where logic once said it could not. The white desert above seems sterile, a void, but beneath, in pools of black water, in caves warmed by fire, in cracks between crystals, life stirs without light. Antarctica is not dead. It is a hidden garden, alien in every sense, waiting for us to learn its language. And in its whispering cells lies the promise or the warning that wherever energy exists, life may find a way. Machines, unlike people, are supposed to obey. They are built to measure, to probe, to record, to return. Yet here in Antarctica, even our finest machines can be swallowed whole, claimed by the ice, their silence leaving only questions. Among the most haunting stories of exploration on this continent is that of Ran, the yellow submersible robot that disappeared beneath the ice, a machine lost to the abyss, like a ship vanishing into fog. Ran was no ordinary tool. She was a state-of-the-art, autonomous underwater vehicle designed in Sweden, named after the Norse goddess of the sea. Sleek, bright, equipped with sonar, cameras and instruments to map the unseen. Ran was humanity's eye in waters too dark and dangerous for us to enter. Her mission was clear: explore beneath Antarctica's floating ice shelves, where vast caverns open into hidden seas. These are places where sunlight never penetrates, where ice roofs hang a kilometer thick, where the pressure is crushing and the temperature hovers near freezing. They are frontiers more alien than the moon. In 2019, Ran made her first great voyage beneath the ice shelf of Pine Island Glacier. She dove deep, her sensors alive, her sonar sweeping. For 20 hours she moved through black water, charting a labyrinth no human had ever seen. What she revealed astonished scientists: a complex pattern of channels carved by melting, sculpted like cathedrals. Warm ocean currents were surging farther beneath the ice than expected, eating it from below. The maps Ran brought back showed not just beauty but danger, a warning that Antarctica's glaciers were retreating faster than we feared. But exploration demands return. Machines, unlike myths, are expected to come back with proof, and in 2022, when Ran embarked on another mission beneath the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf, something went wrong. Contact was lost. Signals failed. She did not return. Somewhere beneath kilometers of ice, she remains, silent, entombed in black water. Her lights may still glow faintly, her sensors still intact, but no human eyes will likely see her again. The oddest part of the story is not the loss itself, but what it symbolizes. Antarctica is not kind to intruders. Even our most advanced creations, robots hardened for space, drones designed to pierce darkness, can vanish without trace. Was it a collision with ice? A system failure? Or did she drift too far, carried into currents that pulled her deeper, farther, beyond recall? The data stops, and speculation begins. Ran's disappearance became a reminder that here, even knowledge itself can be swallowed. And yet, her brief mission changed our understanding forever. The maps she sent before vanishing revealed that warm waters reach deeper and carve faster than models predicted. The underside of the ice is not smooth, but riddled with channels, caves, and crevasses, terrain as complex as any landscape on the surface. These hidden spaces are dynamic, alive with movement. They are the lungs of the glacier, places where heat and salt trade, where collapse may one day begin. Ran showed us this, and then she was gone. The debate now stirs among scientists how much more lies beneath unseen. If one robot can vanish, how many missions will it take to understand the true nature of these hidden seas? Can we trust our models without more maps? Should we risk more machines, knowing the abyss might claim them too? Some say the sacrifice is worth it. Each dive brings revelations. Others argue for caution, for slower steps, for less intrusion. The ice, after all, is patient. It has waited millions of years. But the human imagination leaps further. In quiet corners of the internet, the story of Ran is retold not as science, but as myth. Some say she found something, and that is why she did not return. A cavern too vast to describe, a structure not carved by water, a signal. No evidence supports such whispers, and yet they spread because the idea of a machine vanishing into silence is fertile ground for legend. It feels like the beginning of a story, not its end. Picture it. A small yellow craft drifting through a cathedral of ice, its lights reflecting off walls of blue crystal, its sensors alive. Then suddenly, a current seizes it, or a ceiling collapses, or the signal is cut by sheer distance. Darkness swallows it whole. The last pulse of data vanishes into static. On the surface, antennas wait for a voice that never comes, and in that waiting, silence becomes a story. Ren's absence is not emptiness. It is presence of a different kind. It reminds us that Antarctica does not yield easily, that some of its mysteries remain guarded, that even when we send our best, the continent answers with silence. The robot that vanished has become part of Antarctica's lore, an echo of humanity's attempt to probe the unprobable. And somewhere below, in black water colder than night, she drifts still, a mechanical ghost in an alien sea. Beneath Antarctica's miles of frozen silence, beneath its glaciers and barren plains, lies a story stranger than fiction. This land was once green. Long before the continent became a world of wind and ice, it thrummed with life. Imagine a rainforest, dense and humid, where ferns stretched tall as houses, where rivers curled through mossy valleys, where dinosaurs may have wandered beneath canopies of towering trees. The land we now call frozen desert was once a garden. Evidence comes in fragments, yet the fragments speak volumes. In 2019, drilling near the Amundsen Sea coast brought up sediment cores that astonished scientists. Within them lay the imprint of roots, pollen and spores of fossilized soil nearly 90 million years old. It told of a time during the Cretaceous period when Antarctica basked in a subtropical climate. Temperatures then rarely dropped below freezing, even in the polar night. Rain fell, forests grew, and ecosystems flourished. To hold that core was to hold a memory of Earth so radically different it seemed another planet. Amber too has been found, golden tears of fossilized resin capturing tiny worlds within. In one piece, the delicate remains of insects, wings preserved as if they might beat again. These fragments reveal that Antarctica was once alive with buzzing, crawling multitudes. The trees that produced the amber stood in humid forests where today only glaciers loom. Each shard is a time capsule, a reminder that climates can shift, that paradise can turn to prison. And then there is the egg. In 2011, a massive fossil egg was uncovered on Seymour Island, near the Antarctic Peninsula. Over 28 centimeters long, it was unlike any egg known from the continent, soft-shelled, leathery, collapsed like a deflated ball. Scientists eventually linked it to mosasaurs, colossal marine reptiles that swam in the warm seas around Antarctica some 66 million years ago. To imagine such a creature nesting here, its young hatching in waters that today are choked with icebergs, is to glimpse a forgotten world. The oddest detail is that even as ice now reigns supreme, remnants of that lush age remain frozen in place. Beneath the ice sheet lie entire mountain ranges where ancient forests once stood. Fossilized tree trunks, imprinted with growth rings, lie embedded in stone. Some still bear the patterns of bark, the ghostly textures of leaves. These forests endured months of darkness each year, adapting to rhythms we can barely conceive. Plants grew slowly, conserving energy during long winters, then exploded with growth when sunlight returned. Life adjusted, as it always does. And so the debate emerges: what caused this transformation? How did a verdant land collapse into ice? The leading answer is the shifting of continents and the dance of carbon dioxide. When Antarctica drifted south and became isolated, ocean currents circled it, sealing it in a ring of cold. At the same time, greenhouse gases dropped and glaciers began their slow march. But the exact tipping points remain unclear. How warm was it truly? How fast did the ice take over? Did forests vanish in centuries or in millennia? The record is incomplete, the questions unanswered. Yet the fossils leave no doubt about the stakes. If Antarctica could once host rainforests, then climate is not fixed. It swings, it transforms, it remakes entire continents. And now, as human-driven warming accelerates, the memory of ancient forests becomes more than history. It becomes prophecy. Could Antarctica ever green again? Not in the way it once did. The timescales are vast, the ecosystem's gone. But as ice retreats, mosses and lichens already creep back across exposed rock. The veil may lift, and with it, the ghosts of past climates may stir once more. Close your eyes and picture it. The Antarctic Peninsula, not as we know it, but as it was. Cicadas buzzing in thick air, dragonflies skimming ponds, reptiles basking on riverbanks. Rain falls warm and steady, dripping from ferns, pooling in roots. The ground is soft, rich, alive with decomposition and bloom. The glaciers are gone. In their place, green breath rises into the sky. It is not fantasy, it is history. The ice remembers, and through its fossils, it whispers to us still. The rainforest beneath the ice is not just a curiosity, it is a mirror, reflecting the power of climate to transform worlds. It is a warning, showing us how fragile even the mightiest systems can be. And it is a promise, proof that life is resilient, adaptable, capable of thriving even on the edge of extremes. Above, the winds howl and the glaciers groan. Below, in memory and fossil, a forest waits. To walk Antarctica is to tread upon two continents at once, the frozen present and the green past. And somewhere beneath your feet, the roots of vanished trees still curl in stone, reminding us that nothing, not even ice, is forever. Antarctica is often imagined as Earth's most isolated place, cut off from continents, ringed by storming seas, veiled in endless snow. Yet paradoxically, it is also one of the richest gateways to the cosmos. For scattered across its frozen deserts lie stones not born of Earth but of other worlds, meteorites that have drifted for millions of years through space, only to fall upon this white canvas. No other place on the planet yields so many. The reason lies not in chance but in ice. When a meteorite strikes Antarctica, it does not vanish into soil or forest or ocean as it might elsewhere. Instead, it lands upon the frozen surface and becomes part of the slow, ancient march of glaciers. Over centuries, the ice carries it forward, grinding it against stone, polishing it, encasing it. In certain places where strong winds strip away the snow and ice, these black stones re-emerge, dark against the glaring white. They are gathered there as if by invisible hands, stranded in fields that glimmer like treasure hoards. To walk among such a field is to feel time collapse. Around you, fragments of Mars lie beside shards of asteroids, each older than any mountain. Some are iron, dense and heavy, glinting with metallic sheen. Others are stony, speckled with minerals. A few, rarer still, are carbonaceous chondrites, fragile, dark, rich in organic compounds. Within them are amino acids, the building blocks of life itself, delivered across space. Antarctica has become their museum, preserving what elsewhere would be lost. Since systematic searches began in the 1970s, scientists have collected more than 45,000 meteorites from Antarctica. Each one is catalogued, studied, stored. Some weigh only grams, others kilograms. Together they form the largest single collection of extraterrestrial material on Earth. Among them are priceless rarities, pieces of the moon blasted free by ancient impacts, fragments of Mars carrying trapped bubbles of its atmosphere, stones older than Earth itself, dating back to the birth of the solar system. The oddest of these finds may be AAH 84001, a Martian meteorite discovered in 1984. Within its structure, scientists found tiny features, carbonate globules and microscopic shapes resembling bacteria. In 1996, NASA announced that this meteorite might hold evidence of ancient Martian life. The claim shook the world. Could fossils of alien microbes lie preserved in a rock on Antarctic ice? Debate raged. Some argued the shapes were geological, formed by non-living processes. Others insisted they bore the signature of biology. To this day, no consensus has been reached. AH 84001 remains both artifact and riddle, a stone that carries with it the possibility of life beyond Earth. And then there is the debate of how much material is still hidden. For every stone collected, countless more remain buried, waiting for ice to deliver them to the surface. Some estimate that hundreds of thousands of meteorites lie scattered across the continent. Each one could rewrite a fragment of our cosmic story. Yet the hunt is difficult. Teams brave storms, whiteouts, and -50-degree temperatures to comb the ice with snowmobiles, eyes trained for glimmers of black against white. The work is monotonous, brutal, and yet every discovery feels like a miracle. What fascinates scientists most is not only the variety, but the preservation. Nowhere else do meteorites remain so pristine. In deserts, stones weather, erode, crack. In forests, they vanish beneath soil. In oceans, they sink irretrievably. But in Antarctica, they are preserved by cold, like relics in a cosmic freezer. To hold one is to cradle an untouched memory of the solar system, carried intact across space and time. Yet the oddest tidbit of all may be the belief, whispered more than declared, that Antarctica might one day yield not just meteorites, but artifacts, evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth. No such thing has ever been found. But when you stand in a field of black stones under a sky blazing with stars, it is not hard to let the thought slip in. What if one of these stones is not a stone at all? What if among the thousands of fragments lies something crafted, something sent, something meant to be found? Scientists temper such imagination with caution. The stones are ancient, yes, but they speak of collisions and orbits, not messages. Still, the allure of possibility lingers. It is part of what draws searchers back year after year, to comb the endless fields, to pluck treasures from snow. Each rock could be ordinary, or it could be extraordinary. The line between the two is often only visible under the microscope. Imagine kneeling in the wind, your gloves stiff with cold, your breath freezing against your mask. Before you lies a small black stone, no bigger than your fist. You pick it up. It is heavy, metallic. You know it has traveled millions of years to arrive here. Guided by chance, by gravity, by time, you hold in your hand something older than Earth's continents, a shard of another world. In that moment, you are connected not only to the frozen desert around you, but to the birth of stars, to the dust of galaxies, to the endless dark. Antarctica is not only Earth's last frontier, it is also Earth's greatest archive of the cosmos. Its silence is broken not only by the groan of ice, but by the faint echoes of impacts, the fall of stones from the sky. And as long as the ice endures, it will keep gathering them, storing them, offering them up to those who dare to seek. The white veil above conceals black treasures below. In every meteorite field, the cosmos has left us fragments of itself, scattered like seeds upon the snow. They remind us that we are not apart from the universe, but born of it, shaped by the same dust, written in the same stone. And somewhere among them, perhaps, lies a secret we have yet to name. Across the frozen wilderness, where mountains thrust their dark crowns through the endless white, shapes emerge that the human eye cannot ignore. From a satellite's distant gaze, a peak casts shadows that slice with uncanny precision. Triangles appear against the snow, their lines so sharp, their symmetry so perfect, that they stir a primal recognition. Pyramids, ancient monuments, architecture where no human hand has ever built. Images of these forms travel swiftly, carrying whispers with them, lost civilizations beneath the ice, alien outposts cloaked in glaciers, forbidden histories erased by time. It is easy to see why the Antarctic landscape is sculpted by extremes. Ice flows around mountains like water, smoothing some slopes, sharpening others into uncanny angles. Sunlight, low on the horizon, casts shadows long and straight, exaggerating every ridge, every plane. What from one angle appears natural, from above can look deliberate. The illusion is powerful, almost irresistible. In photographs, the pyramid peaks appear as if lifted straight from the desert of Giza, transposed into a realm of frost. One of the most famous of these illusions lies in the Ellsworth Mountains, where a triangular peak has been photographed and shared as proof of Antarctic pyramids. The viral images proclaim it to be a structure carved with purpose. Online forums buzz with speculation. Did an ancient civilization thrive here before the ice? Did survivors of Atlantis flee southward, building monuments to endure the coming freeze? Or is this the work of extraterrestrial visitors, their bases still buried beneath miles of ice? Geologists, of course, offer a sobering explanation. The so-called pyramids are nunataks, mountain peaks that rise above the ice sheet. Their triangular symmetry comes from natural erosion, shaped by cycles of freezing, thawing, and relentless winds. The pyramid-like forms are products of nature's geometry, not human or alien intention. To those trained in stone, there is nothing mysterious in these shapes. They are beautiful, yes, but not supernatural. Yet the oddest truth is that illusions of architecture have haunted explorers for centuries. Early expeditions wrote of mountains resembling cathedrals, arches, and fortresses. In the endless monotony of white, the mind seeks familiarity. A jagged ridge becomes a wall, a cavern becomes a gate. The continent lends itself to mirage. In this sense, the pyramids are not lies but reflections of our own imagination projected onto the ice. Still, questions remain, and debates persist in corners of the curious. Could the continent have hosted humans, or even pre-human civilizations, in deep prehistory? Mainstream science says no. Antarctica has been icebound for over 30 million years, long before our species existed. Yet fossils remind us that before the freeze, lush forests spread here, rivers flowed, and giant reptiles swam in surrounding seas. Some suggest that in earlier epochs, perhaps in warmer windows, life forms far stranger than we know may have thrived. Not civilizations, but ecosystems we cannot yet picture. The pyramids may not be evidence of lost builders, but they keep alive the tantalizing thought that Antarctica has not always been as it is now. Odd tidbits fuel the fire. Old maps, like the Piri-Reis chart from 1513, are claimed to depict coastlines of Antarctica before it was covered in ice. Scholars argue the maps are misread, their details exaggerated or imagined, yet in the mythology of the pyramids they become supporting evidence, a hint that someone somehow knew of a green Antarctica long before modern exploration. These ideas remain on the edge of speculation, dismissed by academia, yet embraced by storytellers, dreamers, and seekers of mystery. And here lies the paradox. Even if the pyramids are illusions, they have power. They capture our gaze, stir our wonder, and draw us into dialogue with the unknown. They make us ask, what if under miles of ice lies not only fossils and meteorites, but structures? What if Antarctica is more than a continent? What if it is a vault? The scientific debate is not about hidden civilizations, but about perception itself. Why do our minds grasp at order in randomness, at pattern in stone? Psychologists call it pareidolia, the tendency to see faces in clouds, animals in rock, pyramids in mountains. In Antarctica, pareidolia finds its ultimate canvas. The scale is immense, the shapes stark, the shadows unbroken. It is the perfect stage for human imagination to mistake nature's architecture for intention. Picture yourself in a helicopter, flying low across the Ellsworth Mountains. Below, ice stretches unbroken for hundreds of miles. Suddenly, a dark peak cuts through the white, triangular and commanding. Your breath catches. It looks too precise, too deliberate. For a moment you believe. In that moment, you feel the thrill of discovery, the ache of mystery. Then you remember the geologist's voice, erosion, wind, stone. You know the truth, yet the illusion lingers, refusing to fade. This is the gift and the trick of Antarctica. It reminds us that the unknown is not always hidden in facts alone, but in the tension between belief and evidence. The pyramids that aren't, mountains mistaken for monuments, tell us as much about ourselves as about the ice. They show our hunger for wonder, our refusal to accept emptiness, our yearning to find meaning in silence. The White Desert, in the end, does not need pyramids built by hands. Its natural spires and ridges are monuments enough. They rise from the ice as reminders of deep time, of forces more patient than empires. And when shadows lengthen, when photographs circle the globe, they invite us once again into that timeless human dance between skepticism and awe. The pyramids of Antarctica are not real, and yet, in the imagination, they are eternal. In the heart of Antarctica, beneath kilometers of ice so clear it might as well be glass, instruments wait in silence. They are not watching the skies, but the frozen darkness below, listening for particles that barely exist. Neutrinos, ghostly messengers from the cosmos, slip through matter as though it were not there. Trillions pass through your body every second, unnoticed, untouched, but in Antarctica's ice, a few are caught. And when they collide, they leave behind faint flashes of blue light, like stars igniting under the snow. This is the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory, a lattice of more than 5,000 optical sensors frozen deep into the South Pole's ice sheet. Each sensor hangs on a cable, lowered into boreholes drilled with hot water suspended like lanterns in an invisible cathedral. Together they form a cubic kilometer of listening space, a telescope not aimed outward but downward through the Earth itself. Neutrinos from distant galaxies, from violent supernovae, from black holes tearing at matter, pass through the planet and strike the Antarctic ice. When they do, they reveal their presence in glimmers that no eye could otherwise see. The first detections stunned astronomers. High-energy neutrinos, millions of times more powerful than anything produced in our sun, traced back to blazars, active galaxies with supermassive black holes at their cores. Antarctica, the silent continent, had become an observatory to the most violent events in the universe. Beneath its frozen crust, the cosmos itself was speaking. But not all signals have tidy explanations. Some events captured by IceCube and by balloon-borne detectors like Anita, the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, defy standard models. Instead of descending from space, they seem to rise from the Earth below, particles of impossible energy, moving in ways physics struggles to explain, appear to burst upward through the ice. It should not happen. Some suggest experimental error or misunderstood interactions. Others wonder if the signals are glimpses of new physics, sterile neutrinos, supersymmetric particles, or phenomena not yet imagined. The oddest detail is how these anomalies echo ancient myths. For centuries, people have looked to the poles as gateways, entrances to hidden worlds, thresholds to the unknown. Now, detectors record signals that seem to rise from those very depths. Science insists these are natural, measurable, explainable. Yet the symbolism lingers, Antarctica whispering back to the cosmos, as if returning a message. The debate is fierce. Are we on the edge of a revolution in physics, or are we chasing ghosts of data? Some physicists argue for patience, for replication, for better instruments. Others lean into the mystery, proposing theories that stretch beyond the standard model of particle physics. In conference halls and late-night emails, the arguments flare, but the ice is indifferent. It records what it records, offering only faint sparks to guide us. And sparks are enough to ignite imagination. Some fringe voices suggest the anomalies are evidence of communication, signals sent through the ice, using neutrinos as messengers because they can pass through planets unimpeded. It is speculation without evidence, yet it spreads, feeding into the mythology of buried spacecraft and alien watchfulness. The detectors, built for science, become unwilling characters in tales of cosmic contact. Yet even within sober science, the wonder is profound. To catch a single neutrino is to glimpse an event billions of light years away, the star's death cry carried across the void. To see that flash of blue is to hold, for an instant, the story older than Earth. Each signal is both particle and messenger, both science and poetry. Picture standing on the surface above Ice Cube. Around you, the polar plateau stretches flat and white, the air thin, the horizon endless. Beneath your boots, miles of ice glow faintly with unseen light, each flash marking the touch of a cosmic traveler. You are standing atop a telescope as vast as a city, yet invisible, silent, buried in cold. Above, the universe blazes with stars, below their echoes spark in ice. Between the two, you. It is humbling, it is haunting, and it raises questions that remain unanswered. Why do some signals come from directions they should not? What do they mean? Are they errors, or are they doors? The ice gives no reply, it only keeps flashing, steadily, patiently, waiting for us to understand. Antarctica, often imagined as lifeless, becomes in this light an organ of the universe, tuned to frequencies we cannot hear, but can barely see. Its silence is filled with messages from the deep, both from within the Earth and from the farthest reaches of space. To walk here is to walk not only across a continent, but across a detector, a recorder of the cosmos. Every crunch of snow beneath your boots is set against the faint, eternal music of neutrinos colliding, whispers of the universe written in blue light. And perhaps, just perhaps, among those whispers lies something new. Something that bends the rules we thought unbreakable. Something that reminds us that the universe is far stranger than we dream. Beneath Antarctica's crushing silence, legends take root in the shadows between fact and imagination. For decades, whispers have circled of something vast and unnatural lying hidden beneath the ice. A structure, a craft, a cathedral not built by human hands. Photographs of shadowy doorways, radar echoes misread as architecture, and the vanishing of machines like Ran have all fed into this myth. The image is irresistible. An alien ship entombed for millennia, preserved in a frozen vault waiting to be uncovered. At first glance, it is easy to dismiss. No archaeological evidence supports such claims. Geologists explain the shapes as nunataks, ridges and fractures carved by wind and weather. Scientists shake their heads and remind us that the ice is deceptive, sculpting illusions that the human mind eagerly interprets as design. But the myth endures, because it speaks to something deeper. Our longing to not be alone, to imagine the extraordinary lurking just beneath the ordinary. The oddest detail, fueling the tale, comes from Operation High Jump in 1946-47, a massive US naval expedition to Antarctica. Officially, its goals were mapping and training. Unofficially, rumors spread that it sought something more. Conspiracy theories flourished, encounters with flying discs, secret bases, remnants of lost technology. None of these claims withstand scrutiny, yet they thread themselves into the legend of a hidden cathedral of alien origin. In the cold, stories survive where facts are buried. And yet, beneath the myth, lies a kernel of truth stranger still. Antarctica does contain cathedrals, not of alien design, but of stone, ice, and fire. Beneath Mount Erebus, volcanic caves glow with aquamarine light filtering through ice walls. Inside, vaulted chambers stretch overhead like Gothic ceilings, their air warmed by volcanic breath. Microbes coat the walls in thin veils, feeding on gases instead of sunlight. To walk into these caves is to step into a place that feels designed, not by aliens but by the Earth itself, architecture sculpted by geology into forms eerily familiar. The alien cathedral is real, but it belongs to nature. The debate this myth stirs is not truly about spacecraft, it is about possibility. Could Earth in its deep past have been visited? If it had, would Antarctica not be the perfect vault? Remote, hostile, inaccessible, a place where ice preserves what time erodes elsewhere. The scientific consensus is no. There is no evidence, no ruins, no machinery entombed in glaciers. Yet the possibility remains alluring, precisely because it cannot be fully disproved. The ice is too vast, too deep. It hides too much. Consider how little we truly know of the subglacial landscape. Radar reveals mountains taller than the Alps, valleys deeper than the Grand Canyon, lakes stretching farther than great inland seas. And yet we have only mapped fragments. Entire ranges remain unexplored. To imagine something hidden within them is easy, even natural, in a continent where forests once flourished, where meteorites lie scattered like cosmic breadcrumbs, where microbes persist in eternal darkness. Why not imagine an alien cathedral waiting? The odd tidbit that fuels belief is how easily myths graft themselves onto scientific fact. When NASA announced anomalies in neutrino detections beneath the ice, some seized upon it as evidence of signals from a buried structure. When Ran, the robot, vanished into the abyss, the story became that it had found something and was silenced. Even the eerie sounds recorded from boreholes, Doppler screams of falling ice, are recast as the groans of a hidden machine. The myths are parasitic, feeding on science, entwining themselves so tightly that the boundary between data and dream blurs. And yet, in another sense, the myths serve a purpose. They draw our attention to Antarctica's mysteries, reminding us that we still live in an age of exploration. They provoke questions that science itself sometimes forgets to ask. They fuel curiosity, which is the root of discovery. The alien cathedral may not be real, but the longing it represents, for connection, for wonder, for proof that we are not alone, is deeply human. Imagine descending through miles of ice, drilling not with machines but with your mind's eye. You reach a cavern vast as a stadium, its walls glistening, its roof vaulted like the nave of a church. Pillars of blue crystal rise like columns, light refracting through them in spectral arcs. At the center rests a form, smooth, metallic, humming faintly as though alive. The silence around it is not empty but charged, waiting. This vision is fantasy, yes, but it is a fantasy that reveals something about us. Our hunger for the sublime, our need to find meaning in the vast cold. Perhaps in the end, the alien cathedral does exist, not beneath the ice, but in the imagination. Antarctica gives us the canvas, and we paint upon it our deepest fears and hopes. We project ships, temples, pyramids, cathedrals, because the real mysteries, climate tipping points, microbial life, volcanic heat, are harder to grasp, less cinematic. The myth endures because it satisfies an emotional need. But if one day, drilling deeper than ever before, explorers should stumble into a cavern of impossible design, what then? Would we recognize it for what it is? Would we embrace the terror and wonder of knowing we are not alone? Antarctica forces us to live with questions that may never be answered, and in that uncertainty the myth of the alien cathedral finds its strength. Antarctica is not only a land of myth and ice, it is a shield, a vast frozen barrier that regulates the balance of Earth itself. The ice sheets stretching across millions of square kilometers hold back oceans, store ancient air, and reflect sunlight back into space. They are guardians of climate, protectors of coastlines, regulators of sea level. To lose them would be to alter the world in ways both immediate and irreversible. Consider the scale. Antarctica contains nearly 90% of Earth's fresh water, locked in ice up to 4 kilometers thick. If all of it melted, Sea levels would rise more than 60 meters, drowning cities, swallowing islands, redrawing every coastline on the planet. Even partial melt would be catastrophic. The West Antarctic ice sheet alone, unstable and vulnerable, contains enough water to raise seas by over 3 meters. Such a rise would flood deltas, displace hundreds of millions of people, and transform nations into archipelagos. The shield is fragile because it is dynamic. It is not a static mass but a living system, flowing outward in glaciers, calving into icebergs, replenished by snowfall, eroded by currents. Beneath, volcanic heat and subglacial lakes weaken its grip. From above, rising air and shifting winds alter snowfall and melt. At its edges, warm ocean currents creep inward, licking at the ice shelves from below, thinning them, cracking them. These shelves act like buttresses, holding back the glaciers. Remove them, and the flow accelerates. Ice races to the sea. Collapse becomes inevitable. We have seen glimpses of this fragility. In 2002, the Larsen B ice shelf disintegrated in a matter of weeks, shattering into thousands of icebergs. What had stood for millennia vanished almost overnight. The collapse shocked scientists, not because it was unthinkable, but because it happened so quickly. It was a reminder that ice does not always move slowly. Sometimes it leaps. The oddest detail is how the shield records its own vulnerability. Within ice cores, scientists find not only ancient air but clues of past collapses. Layers of dust and salt reveal times when ice sheets retreated, seas rose, and climates shifted. These records show that Antarctica has collapsed before, in epochs warmer than today. The debate is not whether it can happen again, but how soon, how fast, and how far the changes will go. Here lies the great unknown, the thresholds, the tipping points. At what level of warming will West Antarctica collapse irreversibly? Will it be centuries or decades? Some models suggest that a chain reaction may already be underway, grounding lines retreating, glaciers destabilizing, feedback loops accelerating melt. Others argue that stabilizing forces may yet hold, that humanity has time if we act. Between these poles lies uncertainty, and in that uncertainty is our future. Antarctica is both shield and mirror. It reflects not only sunlight, but our choices. Each ton of carbon, each degree of warming etches its consequence into ice. The continent responds not with words, but with movement. Glaciers accelerating, shelves thinning, seas rising. Its language is physics, its reply undeniable. And yet, amid the threat, there is resilience. Parts of East Antarctica remain stable, immense and unmoving, their ice sheets vast enough to outlast ages. Snow still falls, layering new chapters atop old. Some shelves resist, some glaciers stall. The shield bends, but it has not yet broken. The odd tidbit that deepens the paradox is that Antarctica is not only victim but actor. As the ice melts, it reshapes ocean currents, altering the very systems that govern global climate. Fresh water pouring into seas weakens circulation, changes salinity, shifts storms. The continent does not merely respond, it participates. It is a player in the drama of Earth, a force as well as a warning. Imagine standing at the edge of a calving front. Before you, a wall of ice towers higher than skyscrapers. Cracks run like lightning across its surface. With a sound like thunder trapped in stone, a slab breaks free and crashes into the sea, sending waves racing outward. It is both magnificent and terrifying, the beauty of destruction. In that moment, you feel the shield breaking, and you know it is not only ice that is falling, but certainty, stability, safety. To see Antarctica as fragile is to see ourselves reflected. The shield protects us, but only as long as we protect it. Its fate is tied to ours, inseparable, unavoidable. The continent does not need us. It has endured extinctions, upheavals, and ages of fire and frost, but we need it. Without its frozen mass, the seas will rise, the climate will unravel, the world we know will dissolve. And so the shield stands for now, cracked, thinning, trembling at its edges. But standing, it is both warning and promise. Warning because its collapse would be catastrophic. Promise because its endurance gives us time. Time to listen, to change, to act. Time to honor the silence that has preserved us. Beneath the stars, Antarctica gleams, white against black, fragile against infinity. The shield waits, holding back oceans, holding back chaos. And in its silence, it asks us a question: how much longer will we let it stand? Antarctica has been called many things: the white desert, the frozen continent, the heart of ice. Yet perhaps its truest name is the last frontier. It is the one place on Earth where humanity has never truly settled, where no nation plants crops, where no city thrives, where human presence remains temporary, fragile and fleeting. Even now, with satellites above and bases on the ground, Antarctica resists conquest. It remains outside the rhythm of the ordinary world, a place of silence that humbles our reach. Consider the scale of our attempts. Since the first recorded landings in the 19th century, humans have sent ships, planes, drilling rigs, and laboratories. Today, more than 40 nations operate research stations scattered across the continent, from the icy coasts to the high interior plateau. In summer, several thousand people live and work here. In winter, fewer than 1,000 endure the darkness, each isolated within compounds battered by storms, yet not one of them is a permanent resident. No one is born here and grows up here to raise families and grow old. Antarctica allows visitors, not settlers. Why? Because the land itself refuses. Temperatures plummet below 80 degrees Celsius in the interior. Winds scream at more than 200 kilometers per hour across the ice shelves. Water is locked away, food must be imported, oxygen thins in the high polar plateau. Technology can buffer the extremes, but only for a time. Even the most advanced stations rely on supplies from afar. A missed delivery, a mechanical failure, and survival grows precarious. No empire has ever colonized Antarctica. No village has ever endured. The oddest fact is that Antarctica is the only continent without an indigenous people. Every other land on Earth bears traces of human migration, of ancient footsteps, of languages and myths rooted in its soil. But Antarctica remained beyond reach until ships strong enough to break ice brought explorers south. This absence adds to its aura of mystery. It is a place without ancient human memory, without temples, without tools, without stories older than a few centuries. In its silence, it feels alien, as if belonging not to Earth but to another world entirely. And yet it is not empty. Life clings to its edges. Penguin colonies huddled in tens of thousands, seals sprawled on ice floes, krill swarming in seas that feed whales and birds. Even inland, microbes endure in lakes and rocks, eking out existence in places that seem impossible. These creatures are the continent's true inhabitants, evolved for its rhythms, bound to its extremes. Humans remain visitors in their realm. The debate that lingers among scholars and explorers is whether Antarctica should always remain so, untouched, uncolonized, preserved as wilderness. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959 declared the continent dedicated to peace and science, forbidding military activity, suspending territorial claims, banning mineral exploitation. It was a rare moment of global cooperation, nations agreeing to set aside conquest in favor of knowledge. But the treaty is not eternal. In 2048, key provisions come up for review. Some worry that as resources dwindle elsewhere, Antarctica's minerals and waters will tempt nations to break the pact. Others argue that the continent must remain inviolate, a sanctuary beyond exploitation. The future of this frontier hangs in that balance. Odd tidbits whisper at the edges of this debate. Rumors persist of secret military projects during the Cold War, of hidden bunkers carved into ice, of missions cloaked in mystery. No evidence confirms these tales, yet they linger, fueled by the continent's remoteness. The very absence of permanent human life creates a fertile ground for speculation. In the public imagination, Antarctica is a stage where secrets can hide. Yet the truest secrets are natural. Consider the Gamburtsev Mountains, a vast range the size of the Alps, buried beneath kilometers of ice. First detected by seismic surveys in the 1950s, they remain unseen by human eyes. Their valleys and peaks have been frozen for millions of years, preserved in perfect darkness. What rivers once flowed there? What forests? What fossils? They are mountains, but also tombs, sealing away stories of Earth's past. To explore them would be to step back into prehistory. But the ice does not yield easily. For now they remain hidden, an untouched frontier within the last frontier. Imagine yourself on the high plateau at Dome May, the coldest place on Earth. The horizon is endless white, the air thin, the silence profound. Stars blaze with unusual clarity, the Milky Way a river of fire across the sky. You stand at the center of the most inhospitable land on the planet, and yet you feel as if you are standing on another world. This is what draws us to Antarctica, not riches, not conquest, but the taste of the unknown. It is our training ground for the stars, our reminder that exploration begins at home. For Antarctica is more than a frontier of geography, it is a frontier of imagination. Its myths of pyramids and doorways, its echoes of alien cathedrals, its strange signals from the deep, these are the dreams it stirs in us. And dreams, like frontiers, push us outward, beyond comfort, into wonder. The last frontier is not simply a place we cannot yet tame, it is the place that reminds us why we seek at all. The ice groans, the wind howls, the stars burn cold, and beneath it all, the last frontier waits, not conquered, not claimed, but enduring, eternal, inviting us to listen. Stand at the edge of Antarctica, and you are standing at the edge of understanding. The continent is not only ice, not only silence, not only myth, it is a mirror, vast, crystalline, unbroken, reflecting both the cosmos above and the humanity that gazes upon it. When we peer into Antarctica, we do not simply see glaciers and storms, we see ourselves. The mirror shows us time. Its ice cores are pages from the planet's oldest book, each layer a memory pressed in frost. They reveal the ancient breath of forests long gone, the volcanic ash of forgotten eruptions, the whispers of atmospheres that preceded us. In its frozen vault, Antarctica remembers what we have forgotten. To hold a cylinder of that ice is to hold a mirror of ages, to see that we are not separate from history but bound to it, repeating rhythms older than our kind. The mirror shows us possibility. Within its black lakes and volcanic caves, microbes flourish without sunlight, thriving on minerals and gases, proving that life is not fragile but tenacious. They are echoes of what might exist elsewhere, on Europa, on Enceladus, beneath the crusts of alien moons. When we imagine those distant oceans, we need only look beneath Antarctica's ice to know they are plausible. The continent reflects not just Earth but the cosmos, reminding us that the rules of survival are broader than we dreamed. The mirror shows us illusion, pyramids that are not pyramids, doorways that are only shadows, myths of alien cathedrals carved by the eye's hunger for meaning. It reflects our imagination back to us, the shapes we conjure in emptiness, the stories we tell to tame the unknown. In Antarctica's illusions, we glimpse the architecture of our own longing, the monuments of wonder that rise in every mind confronted by mystery. The mirror shows us danger. Ice shelves collapse, glaciers accelerate, seas rise. The white shield that once seemed eternal now trembles, and in its cracks we see the fragility of our world. It reflects our choices, the carbon we burn, the heat we unleash, the consequences we delay. Antarctica does not lie. It mirrors our actions with clarity sharper than any lens, showing us what we would rather ignore. And the mirror shows us humility. Machines vanish beneath the ice. Expeditions stumble, bases falter, instruments freeze. No matter our technology, the continent remains sovereign. It reminds us that there are still places where we are not masters but guests. To look into that mirror is to see the truth of scale. We are small, brief, temporary, set against a land that moves in rhythms of millions of years. The oddest thing the mirror reveals, however, is silence. Antarctica reflects our noise back as absence, our presence back as impermanence. No ruins of empires lie here, no cities, no monuments. The only structures are ice and stone, wind and time. In its reflection, we see what remains when human voices fade, the raw face of Earth, elemental and enduring. The debate, of course, is what this mirror means for our future. Some argue it is warning, urging us to turn back from paths of ruin. Others see it as invitation, calling us deeper into exploration, into the unknown. Perhaps it is both. Perhaps every reflection contains more than one truth. In Antarctica's frozen mirror, we see both endings and beginnings, both fragility and resilience, both loss and promise. Picture it one final time. The endless white stretching to the horizon, the air thin and sharp, the sky burning with cold stars. Beneath you, lakes stir, volcanoes breathe, meteorites lie waiting. Above you, satellites sweep, auroras dance, the universe rains neutrinos into ice. Around you, silence thickens, vast and absolute. You are standing at the heart of paradox, at the crossroads of myth and science, staring into a mirror that holds all of it together. The journey here is not to find aliens or pyramids or cathedrals. It is to find reflection. In Antarctica's mirror, we see our own hunger for meaning, our fragility, our resilience, our future. It is a frozen truth, waiting for us to face it. And so the mirror gazes back, calm, eternal, unbroken. It does not judge. It only reflects. The wind quiets. The stars drift overhead, and you, standing in its silence, feel the story slowing, softening, settling into rest. The frontier fades into dream. The last questions dissolve into stillness. Breathe. Listen. The ice is speaking, but it speaks in quiet. Its voice is not one of urgency, but of patience. A voice that says you are small, you are fleeting, but you are part of something vast. And in that vastness, you are safe.